The A's have signed a binding agreement to purchase land for a future ballpark in Las Vegas. We realize this is a difficult day for our Oakland fans and community. For more than 20 years, the A's have focused on securing a new home for the club and have invested unprecedented time and resources for the past 6 years to build a ballpark in Oakland. Even with the support from fans, leaders at the city, county, and state level, and throughout the broader community, the process to build a new ballpark in Oakland has made little forward progress for some time. We have made a strong and sincere effort to stay here. We recognize that this is very hard to hear. We are disappointed that we have been unable to achieve our shared vision of a waterfront ballpark. As we shift our focus to Vegas, we will continue to share details about next steps. Dallas?
Yeah, it's a tough day. Tough day. This isn't anything that I haven't been prepared for. This isn't anything that I have been blindsided by. These are conversations that have been happening, as the statement reads, for 20 plus years, right? Long before me. But the time is now. I can't say long after me. The time is now. I'll tell you, Jared, I have not. I honestly, I don't know that I've slept since the news broke, and I'm in Texas, so I'm a couple hours ahead of Cali time. And when this news dropped, my phone might as well have just started fucking rattling. I think my phone at one point in time walked over to the balcony and like tried to throw itself off the fucking balcony. And I do. There's a lot of mixed emotions going on, man. There's a ton of mixed emotions going on because you have to look at this through so many lenses. And I have been, when I say forced to look at it through all of these lenses, I mean, I've been on the player side. I've been on the fan side. I've been on the employee side. Like I've seen it from all angles. So I understand each and every perspective. And that's the hardest part about this is there's not one side that is going to be appeased with any one statement. And I can tell you from the reactions that I've received from lifelong fans that have been here since the 60s, that have watched them blossom into the organization that they have become, they understand things to an extent. And then there's just the numbing effect as well. And there are, yeah, man, we talk about peaks and valleys in the game, and don't let the highs get you too high. Don't let the lows keep you down. There is no staying even keeled with this. This will be an emotional roller coaster for the remainder of the time that the organization is in Oakland and has either made the move and started to put the shovel in the ground, or until they've come to a different resolution, if that is something that even still has any possibility to it. So, I mean, this is, I tell you right now, it's like the Office scene where everything is going just absolute fucking mayhem, just complete mayhem right now. Emotionally, that's what's going on, I think, with the fan base right now, understandably so.
I agree. I've seen it on Twitter. I guess like if you're just learning about this now through the podcast, welcome to the conversation. I think if you have been on Twitter this morning and you have seen this kind of play out slowly, I mean, if you're plugged into it, then you've seen this coming for some time now. But if you're just now finding out about the Vegas thing today, where you're listening to this or from Twitter, I guess the questions for you, Dallas, as someone who is on the front lines over there, how quick could something like this happen? Like open it. They're saying what, 2027? Like, it's not like it's going to be next year. The Oakland A's are going to be in Vegas.
Right. Well, the one thing that we have come to know and understand about Las Vegas, first and foremost, is if they want something built there and they want something established and up and running there, it's not going to take an awful lot of time for that to happen. So once you've gotten through all of the red tape and the ribbon cutting and the shovel hits the dirt, you're rolling. You're rolling for a lot of different reasons. One, because It's a city in which if you're making moves and you've got the shovel in the ground, it's not going to take long to get to the finish line there. And it's because there's business at play here and people are waiting for these things. This is a domino effect. And while it might look like a really big domino, which it is, it's still a domino in a row of other dominoes that will likely, when I say fall, I mean fall into place to establish the revitalization of this area in Las Vegas. So in terms of how quick a deal like this happens, I think you always have to consider the landing spot or the site, the home or the new home, which would be Las Vegas, and their desire to get this project up and running. And then you have to consider any sort of hurdles, whether it be economical or legal, that need to be cleared from an organizational standpoint so that they can get that shovel in the dirt as soon as possible. So I think to put a timeline on it, much like has been said for the last 20 years regarding this, would be a little difficult just because we're not exactly sure where things are at as we speak. Because right now, what we have in place is an agreement to purchase the land and essentially start to figure out how a ballpark fits there. That's what this is.
If you could speak candidly about it, at what point was there an event? Was there a conversation? Was there a moment in time where you felt like this was inevitable? Like we were on a crash course for this happening?
No, not for me, because I mean, you guys know, like I constantly am trying to look for the positive. My glass will always remain half full, and it might look not as full as other glasses, and I can understand that, but that's how I choose to live my life. So I always want to feel like there's something waiting at the very end to please both people, both parties, both sides of the conversation. And there was never a time where I felt like we're now just going through the motions. This is just an exercise. And it's because there has to be a financial investment to an extent in clearing hurdles to keep yourself in one place, right? So the environmental impact reports and all of those things that cost money to have done on the organization side of things, those are efforts that you would like to think weren't being made in vain. So as long as that money was being spent and the efforts were being made to continue down what was labeled parallel paths to figure out how we could establish a home or a new home in Oakland, California, I was all ears. Super excited about that because that means, much like they're talking about in Las Vegas, the revitalization of a neighborhood, an economic boost potentially. And for my friends who live in this area, and for friends that I have recently made who live in the city, I understand what the impact could be. And so why wouldn't I wake up and want to be excited about the potential for that? So I have no problem admitting that there was an effort at times to blind myself to the potential of a move. Why? Because that is part of reality. And just like you, I'm human. And there's some parts of reality that I just don't want to fucking entertain.
So, if, I mean, literally going off your last sentence there, my next question was going to be, I don't even know if you can really speak about this, but what would this mean for you professionally? Like, are you tied to the Oakland A's? Like if they become when they become the Las Vegas A's, is that like a whole new regime where they would like, would you be, are you part of the entity that is the A's franchise that would be going there? Or because it's going to be the same ownership, right? So they're going to be going to Las. We don't even know if it's going to be the same ownership. So yeah, like what does this mean for you professionally? Do you even know?
I have no idea. I mean, I know that I bleed green and gold. I know that regardless of who owns an organization, regardless of who's managing the team, regardless of who's selling popcorn in the stands, the athletics organization and everybody that's a part of it and the fans that have cheered this organization on, that is who I bleed for. And there's going to be people who never want to watch an A's baseball game again. I think we can all understand. And there's going to be people who say, you know what? I'm not going to let this move deter me from a childhood full of memories that I have. I'm going to ride with this club because that's what I do. And I'm here for them too. So I am Stretch Armstrong right now. In the middle, no idea what's going on. Fuck, I don't even know what's inside of me. And I'm being pulled in multiple directions. And all I know is that the fans of baseball and the fans of this organization are who I stand for, who I stand with. Growing the game has always been my number one priority. And where that happens, how that happens, I've never really had much control over, Jared. I got a change up and I can hit a gnat's ass. And that got me to where I am now. And after that, the baseball gods are the ones who are pulling the strings here. And I'm okay with that, man. I'm okay with that. I'm not somebody like I'm on this rock to ride the wave. That's what I'm here for. And the game of baseball has allowed me to catch a wave and ride it for as long as anybody has ever ridden a wave. So I do. I woke up today with a lot more question marks than answers.
Obviously, we have a lot of fun on this podcast with the A's being terrible, and it's their reputation that they don't spend money. Do you think that part of the move, because the league can't force a team to spend, there is no salary floor, although that would be a great idea to implement somewhere down the line. Do you think part of the conversation to move the A's to Vegas would be like, hey, we're going to need you to spend a little bit more if you're going to be bringing this franchise to a market like Vegas, who a few years ago they had no professional sports teams. Now they're about to have 3. Like, you can't bring the Oakland A's product to a new market and be exciting the way that it exists today. You just can't.
Yeah, what are you asking? Like, is it?
Do you think that there have been conversations where it's like, hey, you guys, you are what you are right now. Like, you're not invested in the product.
But when this changes, it's got to be different.
Yes.
Look, I think we would be foolish to think that in any business realm, and not this situation specifically, but in any business realm, when a move is being made, that there is not some sort of wink, wink, nod, nod understanding that there is going to be an expected shift in approach. And whether or not that conversation has happened, I don't know. Because we can have the conversations about competitive balance. We can have the conversations about, about revenue sharing and, where the A's have fit into that conversation. And when you think about all that stuff, it does kind of make you wonder, is there room for a conversation like that? Is there room for spurring along some of that activity? But that's when you circle back to your point, which you kind of answered your own question initially. And I think you understand that is you can't force anybody's hand. Like, you don't get to walk into a room as the commissioner and tell X, Y, and Z owners that they're going to spend their money this way. And then look at the other owners and go, I'd really like for you to spend your money this way because it would really help the league. No, but again, competitive balance. The thought is that the franchise is so storied and has such a legacy behind it that there is no way we would want to continue to allow the franchise to flounder. How can you? It is one of the most iconic sports franchises in American sports, not just baseball.
There's a lot of nuance to this answer. Like, it's not like a black and white. There's a lot of gray with this answer, but I'm curious to see how you would answer the question. How do we get here?
Ineptitude. And that's on all fronts. And over we're talking about a 20-year period. 20 years. 20 years. Just say that out loud. 20 years. Right? So if it's taken 20 years to get to this point, and we feel like we could potentially be staring at a resolution within the next 5, it makes you think that there probably could have been a resolution to this a lot sooner, whether it's on Major League Baseball's behalf, the ownership's behalf, city government, state government. There's a lot of different layers to this, right? So many different layers. Like I told you, I was on Capitol Hill with the president, Dave Cavell, in Sacramento years ago, right? Fighting for the opportunity to drop a ballpark in our community and explaining what the added benefits could be. That was 5 years ago. I don't know, 6 years ago. It feels, I don't know. So, and again, like that's what happens when stuff like this goes down, is the finger pointing, right? You, them, we, them. Well, if they would have, we could have. And if they didn't, so we didn't. And that's what ineptitude is. It's the passing of the buck, the passing of the blame, until eventually I think we are left and we find ourselves in a scenario where something drastic has to happen. And that's where we're at now.
I guess finally, before we move on, because I don't want to beat it into the ground, and I'm sure there's a lot that you want to say that you can't say, that maybe someday you will be able to say. But as it is unfolding and nothing is really set in stone, I think the listeners can at least respect and understand that Dallas can't just say exactly what's on his mind at this point in time, although he would probably love to. So the last thing that I'll ask you on this topic is, I'm sure there are A's fans who have been listening since the starting 9 days, then the baseball is dead days. Maybe there are A's fans who have never listened to this podcast before ever. They're probably tuning in for the first time to hear from you about this topic. What do you have to say to the A's fans out there that are sad about this, that feel lost about this, that don't know how to feel about this? Like, they kind of turn to someone like you to be like, Dallas, tell me how to feel. Like, I don't know how to feel. Like, I don't feel anything and I'm confused. What do you have to say to those fans?
Oh man. I'm sorry, man. I'll be honest, man. Like I said, I've had a lot of conversations since 2:30 this morning. And I'm in a group chat with a lot of folks who go to fantasy camp, come to the A's fantasy camp, and I got a fucking buddy from Australia who called me in tears, man. And this is what I've kind of written out, and I don't know that it'll ever make the light of day, but I thank you. Thank you for loving the game unconditionally. Thank you for allowing the game to take a part of your soul and never give it back. That's what makes a day like today really hurt. Something I've learned through tragedy, loss, and even triumph is the road traveled to those inevitable destinations is paved with memories filled with love and joy and tears of all kinds. From the arrival in 68 to our triplets in 72, 73, and 74, the unforgettable season in 89, the images, the emotion. There's been countless iconic moments that you have all shared together and that we have all been lucky enough to experience together at the ballpark over the years. And I wanted you folks to know just how much I love and appreciate you. I have been able to live out a fantasy my entire life, and it's only because of incredibly dedicated and faithful fans like you. I am so terribly sorry. And please know that my heart is with yours. And that's where I'm at, man. It's kind of all I
got. Jay, from the outsider's perspective, what was your initial reaction when you saw the news this morning?
Just stared at my phone, man. Just stared at my phone. What can I say?
Are there people right now that are kind of like reaching out to you, Dallas, to for answers that you don't have? Like, is that frustrating? I mean, I'm sure it has to be, because I'm sure there's people that are reaching out to you right now that either are asking you questions that you do have the answer to and you can't say it, or you just simply don't have the answer and there's nothing that you can do for these people. Like, how are you planning to like navigate that? Like, I'm sure like you're now going to become like the fucking Oakland A's like call center.
Mm-hmm. I have no problem. I have with pride taken the arrows for this organization. I have with pride taken the arrows for this fan base, and I will continue to do so because I love those fans. And I don't give a fuck what anybody else has to say about our ballpark. And I don't give a fuck what anybody else has to say about our 1,500 screaming fans. I would line those motherfuckers up just like the Spartans did against any fucking army. Any fucking army. So as far as navigating this, I'm going to navigate it like I would anything else in my life. I will control what I can control. I will do my very best to communicate everything that I can in a way that allows me to continue to do my job and that allows me to continue to resonate with fans. And I hope that fans understand how difficult things could be for me moving forward. Because I do feel like I'm on my knees in between two bodies laying on the ground, gasping for air. Not only do I know how to give CPR, I also have a defibrillator right next to me, and I'm not administering CPR, and I haven't even opened the defibrillator. And it's not because I don't know how. So that's what it feels like.